Well, welcome to the third part of our cash flow series when it comes to knowing your numbers in your business. And it may feel like I've been harping on about this for a little while. And as I told you in the last episode, it's never been a strength of mine. It's not been something that is, the first thing that I'd like to do the first thing I'd like to tackle on my to-do list. That's absolutely not the case. But I have learned over the years that I've been running my own business, I have learned how incredibly important it is to have a really good understanding of my numbers and a really good understanding of where my numbers are going. So it's not just enough to know what it looks like, but it's really important to understand where it's going and being able to make decisions in my business based on those numbers rather than just my gut feel has been incredibly important. But I haven't been able to do it alone. And so today we're going to talk about the people that I have on my team, the cheerleaders I have in my corner that help make all of this possible. And I may have told you before that in the beginning days of my business, I thought one of the best ways to save money would be to do all of my finances myself. So do all of the invoices myself, do all of the payments myself, do all the payroll myself, and do all of my tax myself. Yep, I thought that was a really good idea at the time. And as I said, in earlier episodes, I'm not a numbers person, or I label myself as not a numbers person. So it's not like it was even something that I felt like I could do. It was just like, this is what needs to be done. And if you're that person in your business at the moment and you're thinking this is a great way to save money and I'm doing it myself, and you dread the end of the month or the end of the week or the end of the financial year when you have to sit down with all of those bits of paper and try and make sense of it, then let this be your permission slip. Let this be your wake-up call and your invitation to go and get some people in your corner who are experts in this field and who really enjoy all of this stuff. Because if you have a good team with you working alongside you, then you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with this stuff. And when I say team, and I say cheerleaders, I'm not talking about full-time employees. I don't have a CFO in my small business. I don't have someone on hand at all times that, comes into the office and can tell me when I can and cannot spend things. But I do have a really good team of people that are experts and advisors that I contract out to. And it's a different rate. It's a different arrangement for each of them. Some of them will invoice me for their time if we meet, every so often. Some of them, I'm on like a membership program where I pay a certain amount every month, and that gives me access to, a whole range of things that I need from them. So it can really be tailored to what suits you and what suits your business. If you don't feel like you're going to need to contact and ask questions every month, then perhaps a one-off payment every time that you need to have a meeting is the way to go. But otherwise, if you want to have someone on the end of the phone that you can call at any time and reach out to, then perhaps somebody with a payment plan or a membership program will suit you better. But let's start at the beginning. So there are certain things that you can do in your business and that you need to do in your business in order to, prepare everything for the people that you have working with you. And in my business, that, my role includes reconciling the accounts, and we use Xero. So that's super easy. It's kind of just like, look, click, look, click. And if I can do it, you can do it. So Xero was set up for me by my accountant. So it's not like I went in there and just, tried to do it all myself, but it's all set up. And so the reconciling of the accounts is something that I'm in charge of, but also my office manager. So she'll do all the things that she knows what to do, and then she'll hand it over to me and say, what was that $50 you spent on your Visa card 3 weeks ago? And then we can fix that up together. So that part of things I still do myself. And then my accounts manager kind of acts as my bookkeeper, in that she's in charge of the invoices. She's in charge of the billing. She makes sure that people know, what each of our products and services cost. She makes sure that those invoices are paid. And as I said, that once they are paid, she reconciles those in the account. So she's with me all the time in terms of she's an employee of my business. And so I'm really lucky to be able to have her to be able to take on that huge chunk of responsibility in the business. And then the step up from that is our accountants. So our accountants are the people that when we can't figure out how things work in Xero, we can call. Our accountants are the people who, come to us at the end of each quarter. They come to us at the end of each financial year and make sure that we have all the documentation in order to satisfy the tax office. They're the people that say you need to pay this here, then into this account, from this account, and make sure that we don't get into any kind of trouble. They help us with our superannuation. They help us with our payroll. And as I said, it's really handy to have proactive accountants or an accountant on your side that you can ask questions to when something doesn't work. Because if you go down a path of, and I'll give you an example of something that we've done, but we've gone down the path of reconciling a certain line item to a certain account where we thought it should sit. And then the accountants had to go through and kind of backtrack and undo all of those reconciliations and then redo them again because they were supposed to go into a different account because, for tax purposes. That wasn't something that we knew. That wasn't something that we even thought we were doing wrong, but it was really good to have their eyes on top of it so that they could pick up any mistakes before it became, a real big issue. You want your accountant to pick up those mistakes and not the tax office to pick up those mistakes, if you know what I'm saying. So our accountants are great. They have a great team of people who are in touch with us all the time, who can answer our silly questions, and of course, who meet with us, during those important times where we do need to sit down and talk about, okay, this is what it looks like currently, this is where it's going. And then I also have the accountant that helps me with all of the putting together of the numbers also will have meetings with me in terms of projection and forecast. So not only are they great at tidying up, the work that has been done and being able to see what has been done, but he's also really great at being able to look at what's happened in the past and then figure out what he thinks is going to happen in the future and advise me accordingly. So that's been a real game changer for me in order to be able to really understand where my business is going. And as I said in the last episode, making sure that I know that if something's going to go wrong in November, I know about it in August. It's not going to be the 2nd of November and I go, oh my gosh, there's no money. So those meetings are really important because they give me a really clear understanding as to when things are going to be lean and when we're going to be okay. He's the person that says, how much are you thinking of spending on costumes next year? Because last year you were supposed to spend this, but you spent this. And so what do you think that's going to be? Because if you're going to spend more next year, then we're going to need to find it from somewhere else. And perhaps here's where you can find it. So he's got a really good brain in terms of looking at the numbers and then being able to give me practical solutions for what happens after that. And then once you've got all of that sorted, I encourage you to get a financial advisor that can give you and your family advice on how to spend your money and where to spend your money and where to put your savings and how to work out your superannuation and all of those things that go with it. Because I don't know about you, but I've found that this stuff has really crept up on me really quickly. And when Heath and I first got together, and we bought a house together and we started, merging things together and building our family, he would make me, he would say, we need to have this meeting. And when are we going to have this meeting? And let's sit down and have this meeting. And I'd be like, no, we've got plenty of time. And it's really crept up because I don't know about you, but when I think about superannuation, I think, that's so far down the track. But really, when you put it in a spreadsheet or you write it down in front of you, there's only a certain amount of years. And it's really important to have a really good understanding of what your goals are around where you're spending your money, where you're keeping your money, where you're storing your money, where you're putting your money, and not just kind of hope for the best and think, I'll deal with that when I'm 65 and see what happens then. So it's really important to get yourself a financial advisor that you trust, somebody that can break it down for you and explain it. I am very lucky that the people that I have advising me can speak very slowly and explain it very clearly to me, because sometimes it's very overwhelming and some of it flies over the top of my head and I get home and I have to say to Heath, when he said that, what is he talking about? So really ask questions, really, be vulnerable in those moments. And I've become better at doing that over the last little while. In the early days, I'd kind of just sit there with my arms folded and nod and smile and go, and then kind of leave a little bit lost. But now I feel a lot more comfortable in asking what I feel are silly questions. No one ever says that to me. That's a story I'm telling myself. But I ask all the questions. I, make sure that I understand in the room what's going on, what's important, what's not important. And, things tend to change a lot as well. So I often want to make sure that when things are changing and things are moving, that I'm still really clear on what's going on and what has to go on in order for us to get into the position that we want to be in a couple of years' time. So that's my kind of cheerleader list for you. That's my list of advisors. So I encourage you, if you have one or maybe more, or perhaps you don't have any people on your side, if you're starting out in business, and so many of you are, so many of you get in touch and say, this is all a bit much and I'm just starting out. What's most important? What's most important is you understanding where you're at. And if you don't understand, you ask questions or you get people on your side who can help explain it to you. And there's no shame in asking questions, and you should have no fear around really being clear on the numbers in your business. And as I said earlier, if you want to do some more work on your cash flow and really get a clear understanding of what's going on, then you can join me on Valentine's Day at 7:30 p.m. for my Cash Flow Made Simple webinar, because we're going to be breaking things down then. But I encourage you to let me know what your biggest takeaways from the last 3 episodes have been, and stick them on your Insta story. Tag me at Simply Stacey Morgan, or if you just want to send me a DM, if perhaps you don't want to tag your biggest hopes and wishes for your financial future, or your biggest fears, you don't want to tag that on your Insta story, that's fine too. Just flick me a DM. You can follow me on Instagram at Simply Stacey Morgan. If you want to register for our Cash Flow Made Simple webinar, you can do that at simplystacey.morgan.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.